Hello, Facebook world, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters. This is a podcast about marriage matters because
marriage matters.
That's what it's all about. So if you're watching this for the very first time, my name is Glenn Coleman, and I'm joined as always by my beautiful wife.
Hi, I'm Tynia Coleman.
I see you. You're looking good. Got your neck on there tonight.
Well, thank you.
I see you. Do you see it? So how's everything going in your, I would say your world, but it's my world too. But
I know.
As we're going to talk about tonight, you also have a world.
You're right. Everything is going pretty fantastic in my world.
Okay.
Things are moving in the right direction. So super excited about that and things to come. How are things going in your world, Glennon?
Not my government name.
Your whole government name. That's what your mama named you.
Things are going well. You know, I've been getting some good, well-deserved rest and relaxation. Amen. I think yesterday was a great day of rest. And Olive agrees with that.
Obviously.
If you hear that in the background. But things have been well. So let's get into tonight's topic. You have anything else to share before we get to tonight's topic?
Not now, no.
Okay. There
are some things to share, but I'm not going to share them just yet. So.
Okay. Well, tonight, as you can see, tonight's topic we're calling it my time, your time, our time. And so I really want to talk about this. This came from a episode of one of my favorite sitcoms, which is The King of Queens. And there was this episode where the wife Carrie had lost her job, and she got a temporary job at the husband's Doug. He works for the company called GPS.
Right.
I think it's GPS. But it's supposed to be like a UPS. Right. But anyway, so he's working there and they're working there together, and she thinks it's going to be like the best idea ever. Right. Well, they both think that that's going to be the best, thing ever. But once they start working there, they find out. I mean, and it's mainly Doug. Carrie thinks things are going great.
Right.
And, they drive to work. They wake up in the morning. They're in the bathroom together. They're brushing their teeth together. They drive to work together. They're eating breakfast together. He goes out on his route. She's calling him on the CB. And he's just like kind of weirded out about that. They're eating lunch together. Then they ride home together. And it's just, and they're always together. And so there's this part where Doug is actually hiding from her at work. And so she gets mad at him, and she was like, what's going on? I thought we were, I thought this was so great. But he's like, it's just too much, it's like you guys are, you were always together. I don't have any time. So tonight I want to kind of talk about that. And disclaimer, this is one of those things where you have to know your relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is not a blanketed thing across the board. And if what we're saying, if that scenario I just described kind of struck a nerve with you, that's a conversation that you need to have with your spouse, and you need to, you guys need to have that conversation together.
Right.
But what we're going to talk about tonight is Tynia and I's experience as it concerns, this whole thing, my time, your time, our time.
Sure.
So I'll start off with this. A lot of people don't know this, but we had a situation similar to that. When we were in ministry, we both were in ministry full time together. And in the early days, I see there's someone from the New Life Family Life group in here. So in the early days of New Life, Church International, the church office was literally our kitchen.
Yeah, our dining room.
Our dining room. Yes, thank you. And so we both were working full time. And so we literally spent pretty much, I would say, out of the 24 hours, we probably spent 85%, maybe even more of that day together.
Right. Even if we were not in the same space, we were just in the house together, or our purposes for what we were doing for work were together.
Yeah. So, and for us, I don't know if it was different. I don't know. It was just because we were, it was early on in our marriage. And so it's like, I guess we wanted to be around each other all the time.
We're still newlyweds too. So.
Yeah. So, so that worked for us. But I will honestly say that as we've gotten older, and become more mature, not that we love each other less. I think we love each other more, but I think, absolutely. And maybe, would you say this, that I think we both value now our time.
Sure, absolutely.
In other words, my time, I value my time, you value your time, and it makes our time together that much better.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I think, like you said, we've grown, we've matured, we've gotten older. We have a lot of similar interests, but we also have, some different interests, different things that we enjoy doing by ourselves or with, other people or what have you. And so we do enjoy spending that time together. I know for me, sometimes it's even just, and I was literally thinking about this today. I was like, well, Lord, it would be nice to have like a space in the house for me. Like in this particular house, I don't necessarily have this, right? This is your space that we're in now.
True.
For the most, you and Bailey space.
Yeah.
Because she spends a lot of time up here.
Yeah, probably more than I do.
But for me, it's like either I'm in, I go to the bedroom and, if I come out into the living room, the dog is there. So I'm like, okay, so I know for me personally, I value the quiet downtime, kind of alone. I call it my thinking space, whether I'm in prayer or I'm reading or just sitting and being and allowing, just dreams and thoughts and things to come to mind and I can jot them down. That's how I love spending a lot of my me time, or with, some of my girlfriends and we do dinner or lunch or, things like that.
Yeah. So you need me to build you a room like Cliff did for Claire.
Yes. Yes. I like it. Yes.
So
and tell those kids you cannot enter.
This is your mother's room.
Yes.
Your mother's room. Your mother. That's my impression of Heathcliff Huxtable. Anyway, so I think that it's really important, and you said something really key that we both have different interests, different, and I always say this, and you guys have probably heard me say this before, that the whole goal of marriage, a relationship is, of course, the Bible says that the two shall become one. Right. But I always say this, that in order for there to be a one, there must first be a two. And I think a lot of times we forget that we are individual people. Sure. And we won't like all the same things. And we have to understand that that's okay. So if they don't like all of the things. So and a great example for us that I use this all the time is the type of music. I mean, not music, but the type of, but that too, but movies. The type of movies that we watch, or even like sitcoms that we watch, or dramas or whatever it is. Is that I like a certain type of kind of more hardcore, in your face, on the edge of your seat. Sometimes the language can be a little
rough.
A little rough. And I like that type of show. I like that type of movie. And on the other hand, you don't like a lot of that. So
right, I tolerate so much of it, and then it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I need a break.
But what we found is we make time, and I think that this can relate to a lot of you maybe who are watching. You can relate to this, that there's times where I watch those things by myself, and I'm not offended at the fact that you don't like watching what I watch, what I like, because you're your own person, and if you liked everything that I liked, and I probably would not love you the way I loved you, because I love you for who you are. And so my job is not to change you and make you like what I like or mold you to the image that I think, I think you should be. No, that's not who I fell in love with. So I think it's really beneficial it has been really beneficial for us. I'm talking from us, our perspective, to allow each other to have that space to, be by our me time. You talked about, like, you hanging out with your with your friends. You have two very close friends, and anytime you guys can get together and have dinner or go take a trip together or whatever, you guys are going to do that. And so what do you think the importance of that for a couple to have their own thing in addition to our thing?
Sure. I think it's very important that we have our own spaces, to do things that we enjoy, to be with. So I'll use, my friendships with my close, girlfriends, that time with them, whether it's, a dinner night, for us, like we can meet for dinner at 6:00 and we'll close the restaurant down because we are talking nonstop. We're enjoying each other's company. We're catching up on things. We're having probably a sister circle therapy session. We go from crying to laughing to, whatever. But that's healthy because there are things that women experience that men will never experience.
For sure.
And a man will never understand.
For sure.
And so you need the surrounding of that sister circle that you can trust to that degree with all of who you are, to be able to walk through and talk through some of those things, so it's really restorative. And my hope and my prayer is that when I come home from those dinners or from those trips, that I'm better than when I left, that my family can experience a better side of me, a better part of me, because I've had the opportunity to have space held for me. I've had the opportunity to be heard and seen and understood. And it's not that you don't do that, but like I said, it's very different when it's in a group of women.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And so again, I think it goes to making sure that you have to be, well, not for everyone, but I think some people, it's a lack of it. I'll ask you, since you're the expert.
Sure.
Why do you think that's hard for some people?
Ooh, it's hard for people. And I'll tell you from just what I've seen and heard having conversations with people. One, when they're not secure in their relationship.
Okay.
When people have insecurities in their marriages or their relationships, it's hard for them to spend that time away because there may not be trust there. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Or one or the other person may be struggling with self-esteem issues, and they may not have figured out how to do life, with their husband or wife, and allow that person and themselves to have space to also, do some things in life on their own. We have to be very mindful about, building codependent habits. People build codependent habits where you can't do anything without me and I can't do anything without you. And I mean, we may have struggled with some of that early on in our marriage just because it was so new and fresh. And I know for me, holding on really tightly and those types of things. But as you grow and you evolve and you build this trust, and there's not this insecurity there. I was having a conversation with someone the other day I was telling them about the For Men Only and For Women Only books, right? And, and I was sharing with them, because I was actually trying to encourage them to get them, how in the For Women Only book, it talks about some of the challenges that women go through. I mean, these are Christian authors, so it's not leaving certain genres of people out. It's for everyone, how women go through these thoughts of, when we don't necessarily feel good about ourselves and we question our relationship. Well, does he still love me? Is he going to leave me? And these are people who have been married for 5, 10, 15, 20 years who still ask these types of questions because of some of what they may be going through, on the inside. So those are some reasons why some people may struggle with that. There are tons of other reasons, but that are just some that have come to mind pretty quickly. Yeah.
And so I like that. And you talked about the insecurity, and I think I think going into marriage or going into any relationship, with insecurity is a dangerous thing.
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of times we put the pressure on our partner, our spouse, our significant other to be that for us, to complete, to fill in that hole, that gap, or that insecurity.
Right.
And we put the pressure on them to do something that they're not designed to do. You know, when just kind of bring it back to scripture in Genesis chapter 2, when God created, before God created the physical container for the woman, the body for the woman, you know, he said it's not good for man to be alone.
Right.
And I like he's used the word alone. Notice he didn't say it's not good for man to be lonely, because Adam, there's a difference between being alone and being lonely.
Correct.
And I think that so many people are lonely, and that's why they struggle with being alone. And lonely is that what you talked about, that insecurity. When you can't be by yourself, then there's something that's going on there at a deeper level, and it's very important that, you know, we do the work to figure out what that is. And typically it's most of the time it has something to do with our past, our childhood, our past relationship, whatever that is, and it caused a wound or a scar there.
Absolutely.
And that's, you know, we talked about this a while back about attachment styles.
Yes,
and
I was
how.
Just about to bring that
Okay,
up.
Well, I'll let you talk about that because you're the expert.
No,
but
you are an expert too. You know all about attachment styles.
But yeah, it's very important that we address that and understand the difference between being alone and being lonely. You know, and I'll kind of shift it into another place. You know, when it comes to personality styles and understanding personality styles, because, you know, for me, most people don't. Every time I say this, they're like, "No way!" But I'm an introvert person. You know, I have extroverted tendencies, but at my core, I'm an introvert. And what you have to understand about introvert versus extrovert, it's not that. It's more about. It's not just, you know, that's what I am, or that's how I. That's how I refuel.
Exactly.
That's how I restore.
Right.
So for me, if I'm always around people and just always having to, you know,
to be on,
yeah, that's so draining for me. And so usually, I need, you know, every day I need that time just where, and a lot of times for me, that drive home from work in the afternoons, sometimes I'll drive home with nothing on, no radio, nothing, because I just need time to be. I just need and whether that's just me just contemplating my day, whether that's me having conversations with God, whatever that is, and that's my time to refuel. But I think for you, and I applaud you, you know, because for all of the hang-ups, you when we talk about things early in our marriage, you know, you having those thoughts about, is he going to leave or whatever. I feel that you always gave me that space, you know, and I don't know if you did it on purpose or you did it just by mistake, but, you know, there are times where, you know, and especially being in the house, you know, I love my girls. I love my three women, or my one woman and two girls. But sometimes I just need some estrogen-free zone. I need, you know, just to be, and you guys will leave and I'll be here by myself. Well, now, like you said, I still got another girl, Olive, who wants more attention. That's our pet dog, by the way. Who seems to wants more attention than any
everybody.
But anyway, I still have that time, you know, where I can just, you know, it's quiet in the house, or I can watch a movie, or, you know, whatever. And that allows me that time to refuel, and to train, or like coming home, it gives me that time to transition and to get in the mode of putting on. And some people might say, well, you shouldn't take your husband hat off. Hear what I'm saying. I'm saying at work, I have to be a certain way, not fakey or put
right,
but it's a different mindset from when I come home, because when I at work, I'm making decisions a lot of time unilaterally. In other words, I'm making decisions based on the information that I have. I'm not running it by you. I'm not considering a lot of times other people. I have to make decisions, but I can't operate that way here in the home. So I have to make those transitions. So I just want to thank you for giving me that time to have my time so that I can be better for our time.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for giving me my me time too.
So,
but I think, Glenn, that is, you mentioned that the transitioning from work to home. I think for women, there is a transition. We do have to be focused and, be at work when we're at work and focused on that.
mm-hmm.
But I think for women, we tend to struggle with that more. Many of us, not all of us, struggle with that more because of the way that we're made up.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the things that we do in our lives, whether that's our marriage, our children, our work, our older parents that we may, need to consider, and all of these different things, and many aspects of our day, all of those things are running through our mind. And so for me, like when I may be in a session with the client and I'm there, I'm present, but as soon as that session is over and I may have a break between sessions, then I'm jumping on my phone to see, okay, what's coming up, what's happening with the kids. Do I need to remind someone of something? Do I need to schedule something? Do I need to cancel something? And so I'm at work, but I need to make sure this happens before the end of this day or before things. So I'm like, my mind is constantly going, which is why I can call or text you in the middle of the day out of the blue and say, hey, don't forget A, B, C, or D. And you're like, wait, what, huh? Mm-hmm. I'm in the middle of your focus at work. But I think women are built differently, because for men, you guys, and people use tunnel vision in a negative way, but not necessarily just for your makeup. When you're at home, you're at home.
We compartmentalize.
You compartmentalize. Yeah. Yes, that's great. When you're at home, you are very much at home. Mm-hmm. I am at home, and I am at home physically, but mentally, oh, shoots, I need to take care of this. Mm-hmm. I need to return this phone call. I need to, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So for you, and when you're at work, you're at work.
Yeah.
If you're having coffee with a friend, you're having coffee with a friend.
Yeah.
It's just the way that we are made up. And I think that's one of the things that we have to do a better job at appreciating and recognizing about one another.
Yeah. And I want to say this too, and I want to speak as a man. Mm-hmm. I want to speak to the women who are watching. I'm just reading some of the comments. Mm-hmm. One of the comments. Yeah.
Hey, Shanyetta.
What did she say? This one. That's good. I thought something was wrong with me a long time ago.
I think she's meaning earlier on in her marriage.
Yeah. And I think a lot of women, especially mothers, you feel like, that I know you have a superwoman cape in your closet. Mm-hmm. I know you do, but it's okay to take it off sometimes. And don't feel bad, because here's the deal. Stephen Covey, in his 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, one of the 7 habits is sharpening the saw.
Yes.
And he talks about the example he gave is, and I can't remember all the numbers and hours, but he said there's a guy who's chopping down a tree.
Right.
And he's cutting and cutting and cutting, but as he's cutting, the saw that he's using is getting more dull. And he said that and he never would stop to sharpen the saw, because he thought stopping to sharpen the saw would waste time. But what he found out was, if he stopped every couple of hours and spent 30 minutes or so sharpening the saw, then he could cut the tree down faster.
Right.
And so it's really important that you do have that time of rest. And I always say this: if God rested, then who am I to say I don't need it?
Right.
And we actually were listening to Mike Todd this morning, and he said something. He said, on the 6th day, God created man. If he created on the 6th day, he created man. On the 7th day, he gave man rest. So the first thing he did
was give man rest.
Come on, rest.
Brother, that's good.
And a lot of times, it's not about so rest, or we call it recreation. But if you break that word down, it's really recreation. Yes. So in order for you to recreate yourself again, you have to take that time and we talking about me time, your time, our time,
Mm-hmm.
but my me time includes my me time with God. And that's important.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's great that we pray together, and I mean, you should do that as a couple,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just as important that I have my own personal relationship, because sometimes I believe that God's going to talk to me about some things that he wouldn't necessarily talk to me about
Right.
when I'm praying with you. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So
I think it has to do with your role,
Yeah.
because we have different roles in our marriage,
Yeah.
and so he's going to speak to you on some things that, you know, you're maybe more open to hear. It's more related to your role. It may or may not be for you to even share with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really important for us to have those distinct times, because, and going back to that, to the sharpen the saw, a lot of times I think in our relationships we wait until burnout happens,
Mm-hmm.
and then we try to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think it's very important. Like, I know you just recently had a spa day,
Mm-hmm.
and it was 2 hours or whatever.
Almost 3. It was so great. Thank you so much.
But that's important. And
Yeah.
I want you to have that time, because, and I know a lot of times, I hear guys talk about it all the time. They're complaining about, maybe my wife is always nagging, and maybe she needs some time away. So let me give you some advice, fellas. Go to Scarborough's, or go
One of these other spas around
somewhere.
here.
Get her a massage, whatever,
A facial.
Don't
skip that facial.
and go in, and let her go in there and have some me time, and take some of the pressure off. Give her some time, and the same thing with you, wives. Allow your husband, whether that's, if it's sports, if it's golf, let him go play golf for a couple hours. Let him go, shoot ball with the fellas, or whatever that he needs to refuel. And if we learn to do that, I'm telling you, it's really going to impact and affect, I believe, our relationship. When we have that time to recreate, it gives us a better opportunity to reconnect when we come back together.
When you said that, and if you can help me fix this, that
I seen you over here.
I was clicking trying to get
you can't skip the facial.
No, don't skip the facial. Listen, it just did something for me Friday.
Yeah.
When you were talking earlier about how Mike Todd said, on the 6th day God created man, and on the 7th day he caused man to rest. And it was to recreate.
Yeah.
And I thought about immediately, like, how God created our bodies, and how our skin, it recreates on, like, we shed skin and we get new skin. We shed hair and we get new hair. Like, God is constantly creating us. Our taste buds change. I think after 4 days or something like that, our taste buds are new. So if you fast, I don't know, sugar or something for 4 days or 4 to 7 days or something like that, then you won't have the craving and the taste for it. And how God created our bodies to recreate themselves. And so in order for your body to really recreate itself, you have to rest.
Yeah.
It has to, because a lot of healing takes place when we are resting.
Yeah.
When we are sleeping. And I was listening to a doctor on a podcast a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about when people experience trauma in their lives, right, and they go to sleep, and there are certain dreams that they have. He said sometimes God will bring those things back up because you're at a state of rest and peace, and you go through this process that allows you to heal from that. And so rest is super important for our bodies, for our minds, and for our relationships.
Yeah.
I think we just took 2 weeks off, the end of June, first week of July, and it was the best. We didn't run out of town that first week. We were home. We relaxed. We took care of some things around the house. The second week we left and we went and, enjoyed family, had time with the kids. It was just so great to have that time to recreate, to rest, to be restored. That's important for your relationship. Like we talked about earlier, when you take times to do things for yourself, by yourself, or with your friends, what have you, you're being restored, you're being refreshed, you're being renewed. And when you return home, your spouse and your children, they reap the benefits of those things.
Yeah. And that's what, we always say, our goal in life, our goal with this Marriage Matters, whole life counseling and coaching, is we want to help couples heal from past experiences so they can be the best version of themselves. Because that's what I always say, this Tynia deserves the best version of me. Bethany and Bailey deserves the best version of me. Even Olive, the pet dog, deserves the best version of me. And when I find myself running thin on patience, it's usually because I have not been taking the time to really take care of myself. I'm not maybe spending time, relaxing. I'm not spending time with God. I'm not spending time, just meditating on the word. And so that I've learned I've come to recognize that and to realize that. So it's, again, we're not saying that, again, this is what works for us. So you need to have this conversation with your spouse, your significant other. If you feel that way, like maybe it's like, I don't like, and what's funny is one of my love languages is quality time.
Right.
But that it's so we always say this, when it comes to time, I value quality over quantity. And so quality time, the difference between quality and quantity is, and a good example today, in today's world, if all my time I spend with you, I'm on my phone, you're on your phone, and we may be spending a lot of time physically together, but that's not quality time.
Right, correct.
Because we're not. So I would rather 30 minutes of quality time than 2 hours of your leftover, or while you're working, and we do that. We work, you're on your laptop or whatever, and we're sitting there, and that's cool. But then we make sure that we give each other the quality time, that we really are engaging with each other and talking, or and I'm not talking about like bills or business, or really connecting
just
with each other, enjoying one another, going for a walk, going for ice cream, or going for a ride. We used to do our Sunday drive live, Sunday drive live, whatever it was.
Yes. That.
But that's something that we enjoy doing, just going for rides together. So you need to find out. And so we'll wrap up with this. So if you are struggling in this area, if it's hard for you to allow your spouse or significant other to go without you or have their own thing, if that's a struggle for you, then I would challenge you to figure out what that is. Maybe you need to talk with somebody. Maybe you need to seek out some help to find out, what is it? Why am I so afraid to be by myself? Or I don't like being alone. What it is it childhood trauma? Is it, scars or wounds from another relationship? What is it? The reason? Ask yourself that question, why? And if you can't work through that, then reach out, get help, because your relationship will go to a whole other level when you learn how to take time for yourself, how to give your spouse or significant other time for their self, and have the time together. So
yeah.
You have anything to add to that?
No, I think that absolutely. We need to know the reasons why we do what we do, and the reasons why we feel what we feel.
Yes.
Right. There are reasons why, like you said, we have these different attachment styles and personality styles and things like that. Do your research, do your homework, like Glenn said, seek counseling. I wanted to spotlight a couple of our responses. Pastor Mary Ringo said, good word. Maybe we just need to rest.
And now I'm going to interrupt you right there, because I always go back to this 2020, and that was a horrible year as far as the pandemic. And, we lost family members, we lost friends as a result of that. But if there's one blessing that came out of that time, was it really forced us to rest.
Absolutely.
And I think even the planet the physical planet. I remember seeing pictures of like the air above LA had cleared up, and you could see the sky, the city skyline for it. Oh wow! I remember it was in where is it, Venice?
Yes,
Where is it with the
Italy with the river and
with the canals,
gondolas and all that? Yeah,
and they were like the water turned back like bluish green, and so it's like everything is like we are. And I often tell this story. This one time I was traveling with our pastor, Pastor Norman Thomas, Dr. Debbie Thomas. I was traveling with them at one time. And we were in Nairobi, Kenya. And when I got up to the counter, this lady, the lady who was behind the counter, you know, this is my best Kenyan accent. She said, "You are American, aren't you?" And I said, I laughed. I said, "Yeah." I said, "How did you know that?" She said, "Because you have looked at your watch 3 times in the last 10 minutes. So I was like, wow. And what she was saying was like, you Americans are always so in a rush. And it's, you know, I'm like, I'm standing in line for 10 minutes. I don't have my room yet. But so it really caused me to rest. So, so I just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was just agreeing with her that maybe we just need to rest. We have to do a better job. And I agree. Bridget and I had that conversation yesterday about, 2020, that it taught us to slow down. It taught us to rest. It taught us to be present within ourselves and to be present within our homes. To be present with our families and, our husbands, our children, to talk to, and so those are lessons that I really pray that we learned, coming out of that time of being, shut down and locked in the house, that we have learned something, because many people have gotten very quick to just get back to the way things were before, the best way that they could, and no shame or shade on anyone. But what I'm saying is, don't forget the benefits that were during that time, right? Y'all are my favorite people, so I didn't mind being at home with you guys. You know?
I loved it. I loved it. Yeah. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, although we are all similar in the way that once we've had enough, we have enough, and we just all go to our 4 corners.
And that's fine. And I would love it, how we would be all in the living room watching TV or whatever. Then at some point we'd all just go to our rooms, and it was what it was.
Right.
And then there's nothing wrong with that. I want to comment on this with Shira. She said, "I wish I knew how to rest." And that is so. It's so unfortunate that we don't know how to rest.
Right.
And even when we try, it's like our mind won't rest. Our mind won't stop. So there are some things that, the first thing I would always go to is the word of God. The Bible says that, God will give his beloved sweet sleep. So that's where I always, just pray about that. But the other thing, I always say breathing.
Yes.
Learning how to breathe. Yes. And for you, Shira, I would encourage you to find time throughout the day, whether it's in the morning and I know you have young kids, so sometimes it's hard, but maybe get your spouse to help, say, I just need this time. And if it start with 1 minute and just sit in a dark room, just nothing on, no electronics, leave your phone out, and just breathe. And actually, when I say, I know we're always breathing, but
we're not intentional. Always deep breathing. We shallow breathe.
Yeah, be intentional about, really breathing and spending some time, and just try to just keep your mind blank. And sometimes, you try to do that, but stuff starts coming. But you're right. It takes you. It's a skill.
It is a skill,
and it's unfortunate that we have to learn how to rest. But God is the creator of rest. Like I said, on the 7th day, He deemed it a day of rest.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, for me. And I know maybe some of the other. I know Pastor Mary. She can relate to this. Sunday mornings for me, for a long time, was not restful.
No, it was work.
And I would be up really early, be at the church really early. I wanted to make sure everything was right. And I mean, that's to be expected. But even from that, we have to take time to rest. And I know a lot of pastors struggle with that. And they think that if they're not there, then the ministries are going to fall apart.
Right.
And I understand sometimes you don't have the people to support, but I believe that God will bring those people into your lives where you can have time to rest and take time away. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. We've been in this we're almost at our 45-minute mark.
Really?
So
wow, that went fast tonight.
Yeah. So we really appreciate everybody
you guys for joining and commenting.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. He showed me a video on breathing. So yeah, go on YouTube and look up videos on breathing, and just techniques. And just being. And I call it just being, being. And one thing I'll say this that I love to do is take showers in the dark. That really helps me. It's like, I don't know if it's sensory deprivation. I don't know what it is, but that just really helps. It puts me in a very calming space. Yeah, so just things to try. But yeah, you can look up videos on breathing, and just on how to, still your mind and just relax and rest and worrying. I love the scripture in Matthew 6:36. Somewhere in like toward the end of 6, it says, worrying never added anything to anyone's life. Amen. I'm just paraphrasing, but basically that's what it says. So stop the worrying and rest. Take your time, give your spouse, your significant other their time so y'all can have better our time. Yeah. You have anything else to add?
No, I guess not. The other comment I was gonna highlight is gone, but
you can see it over here.
See, it's so fancy, y'all. I don't know how to work all this stuff.
These are all the comments.
Oh, it was Cassandra. She said, I cannot skip the facial. The experience is healing. We all need time to refresh. And I wanted to comment on that because that's exactly, for me, that's exactly what I experienced. And it was one of the, that's what I was thinking of doing earlier. I didn't know we could do that. Look, because that's when I went to the spa and I was having the massage and the facial, I was intentionally talking myself into a space of being very present in the environment and hearing what I heard, experiencing the healing that was taking place within my body, and what I was doing shower was practicing rest. And I used to struggle with that as well. And yeah, it's a process of unlearning the worry and all of the stuff that I talked about earlier that happens in our minds. There is a process of learning how to turn that off. So I'm going to be praying for you.
Yeah. So, and if you guys want to reach out, you can reach out to us and maybe we can help you with some of that. We're here to help. So we want you to be the best version of yourself. Absolutely. Because the world deserves the best version. Absolutely. You deserve the best version of you. Yes. So that's all we got for you this week. Hopefully you enjoyed that. As always, remember, you can always follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook. Well, not all. We have yet to create a TikTok account, which we've been talking about doing that. I
hope if we do, the children don't kick us off.
So you can follow us. But as always, we're reminding you, this is Glenn and Tynia Coleman reminding you that your marriage matters. We'll see you next week.
Bye.